Off. All right, good evening, everyone. Dr. Stacy here. I am so excited you have decided to join us on our Tuesday evening Science and Technology Zoom. Wow, do I have a lineup for you? I don't know if you knew this beforehand, or maybe the person that invited you said you can't miss this one. You have to be on this Zoom. You know, from time to time, I have different doctors and practitioners on here that are joining me to share LifeWave's technology from their background, their experience, their expertise in their areas. And I had the privilege of interviewing this panel right here last month in Houston, Texas at our boot camp. And I'm telling you what, they knocked it out of the park. Just absolutely amazing information they shared with everyone. Practical applications of using the patches, including, of course, their area of expertise and what they bring to the table. So I asked them last week, I went for a walk and I thought, ooh, I want to message that panel and I want to ask them if they would be willing to do this on Zoom. There were only about 200 of us in Houston. And, you know, I like to make sure that we add value to the entire LifeWave community. Everything that we do is on my YouTube channel, so everyone in the community can watch and learn and benefit from the knowledge that is shared. I think that's very important. And so when I messaged them, they said, absolutely, yes, we would love to. And as divine as it is, it worked out perfectly for all three of them to be on here together at the same time. So the way this is going to go tonight, I'm going to share with you our disclaimer first before we get started. I'm not a medical doctor. I am joined by three incredible medical doctors. I am not, though. I have a PhD in integrative medicine and a PhD in functional medicine. So much like these people here, they love holistic and alternative types of healing modalities, but their background and their practices stem from traditional allopathic medicine. And so I and these doctors, even though they are medical doctors, are not here to claim to treat, cure, prevent, or diagnose you with anything at all. We won't be discussing any diseases. We won't be discussing any syndromes, right? Conditions. We'll talk about symptoms. We'll talk about organ function and cellular function and system function within using this technology. But just keep in mind, we have a list of questions because you guys always have questions. We won't be addressing any type of specific diseases. So please feel free to ask your questions in the chat. I do have questions already pre-prepared, but I'll be sifting and sorting through because I know they have so much information to share with you. So we're going to spend just about 5 minutes each. They're going to give you their credentials, their background, their history, and they're also going to share with you how they found out about LifeWave, why they decided to utilize this technology for themselves, but also why they decided to share it with other people, right? They're not just doctors using it themselves, they're doctors using it and sharing it. And we want to know what made them decide that as a traditional medical doctor. What would make you decide to do something that's not traditional, that's out of that box, right? We want to know why. Why is this technology so important that you said yes? So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start up here on my top left screen. I see Dr. Dennis up there. So Dr. Dennis, come on here and tell us, give us your background. Tell us where you came from. Bring us up to speed with your LifeWave journey.
So I am a foot surgeon. I was trained about 30 years ago. I did surgical treatment, medical treatments. But when I was working, and first of all, I want to say I really see this as a sacred, opportunity or duty with LifeWave and representing, my colleagues and that's kind of where I came from. I was working with the Indian Health Service. And there's a very sacred place, special group of people that I took care of. And so that's, I take this very seriously. I may be dramatic sometimes, but I never exaggerate. I'm very careful in the words that I pick and the examples that I use. So if I say something that's pretty, amazing to me, it's out of the ordinary. So I took care of a lot of people who had high blood sugar issues. The problem with that is then they developed complications. That's like foot ulcers and neuropathic pain. So I developed techniques to not just surgical techniques, but medical techniques. I was always looking for something that was affordable because I worked for the federal government and we didn't have a big budget. I'm a steward of your tax dollars. But also I didn't want to do anything that was going to be detrimental to the patient. So had a lot of wound care experience. And what I was looking to do was change people's lives by educating them and empowering them. I wasn't just there to amputate their foot or, leg or whatever. I was there to help them learn how to live healthier. So this fits perfectly with that, with my overarching purpose. So this came to me through a friend, Connie Lucas. Some people may know her. She's a distributor here in Arizona, or brand partner. And she told me about it. I knew her through other holistic health products. And I just trusted her. She said, this is what it does. It's great for wound care because it increases collagen production, and it's great for pain. So I said, well, those are the two things that I do, because when I do things, I need to have results. For years, sales reps would come to me and they would say, here's our papers, here's our studies. Well, they're done by those studies are funded by the companies, which doesn't mean that they can be biased, but everybody has studies. I was more boots on the ground, and I had to get the wound to close, and I had to get the pain level down to a level where people could function. So I was most, all clinical, but I had to, because I was looking the patient in the face saying, hey, if you do this, then I can get you back to work. Or if you let me cut this off, I will, this will increase your chance of not having another problem. So that's where I kind of melded things together. But I never saw anything like this. Connie told me about it. I used it the way she explained, and I was amazed at the ice wave, because that gave such rapid pain relief, faster than I could get with injections. I could numb up your whole foot with local anesthetic and amputate part of it. But I cannot do the things, and it's not only what I do in the foot, but I can do this anywhere in the body. Moreover, I can teach people who have no medical background, no training, no scientific background, to do things and impact people's lives like I never could. I used to have to work with a resident or a doctor and train them with the things that I learned. So now I have the opportunity to help other people in their healing journey like no doctor can. And that's, once I saw that, I can't not do this. Now, I don't use it in my own practice. Many doctors are limited by what they can do in their practice. So, we're in a lot of ways, we're like all the other brand partners. We're just, talking to people and sharing it and finding people that want to help other people.
I love that. How rewarding is that to be able to
Oh
know
yeah.
that you can help anyone, and you can
Yep.
teach anyone how to use this. It doesn't have to be a doctor utilizing this technology. Thank you, Dr. Dennis. All right, Dr. Pamela, give us your nuts and bolts. Tell us where you came from, your background, who introduced you to LifeWave, what made you say yes, and how are you sharing it now?
Okay, I graduated with my medical degree in Jamaica, and I came up here to the famous Cook County Hospital in Chicago, Illinois, to do my residency. So, nothing phases me in terms of medicine. And I've been at this now for 54 years, which I just retired in January. Finally, that was my 7th and final retirement. And I have always had a holistic intent. In other words, with my patients, I've always tried to get to the root cause of what was going on in their bodies. It was not about the diagnosis as much as where is the source of this problem and how can I help you feel better, So when I came to this country, I was faced with having to do my boards, and I became board certified. You have to take this exam every 7 years. Yeah, I did that 3 times, and I realized it didn't make me a better doctor, so I stopped doing it after 21 years. And I just pressed on and became my own person and had my own practice. I was in solo family practice all this time. And so I have prescribed a ton of medications for my patients. But what I came to realize is that all medicines have side effects and they don't necessarily cure what's wrong with the patient. So what you're doing is putting a Band-Aid over it and giving the patient something that they may not have asked you for by the means of the side effects. So when I came across this technology, and I was introduced to it by Connie Lucas as well. She and I were in a former business venture, and we were aging gracefully, basically talking about graceful aging. But in this business, we can say it's not just about aging gracefully, it's about regeneration and turning back the clock. We're actually getting younger. I am in my really high 70s. My next birthday, I'm going to turn 80 in a couple of months. And I function at about 59. I play pickleball, as Dr. Dennis can attest. And I run around behind 6 grandkids who are very active and do things like that. And I feel great. I really enjoy the way I feel about this, the mental clarity, the ability to sleep, the feeling of energy in the morning, not having any kind of illness or discomfort go away almost as soon as you get it. You start to have a sniffle, you put a patch on there. I usually put my glutathione patch. But the star of the show is the X39, which I wear every day. And I wear X49 as well to play my games. So I enjoy being able to say to people, what is it that you want to get? And, Robin is the head of our organization, as you know, and Robin works with me sometimes and says, take your doctor hat off and put on your networking hat, because it's a different discipline, really. It's a different muscle, as she says, which you have to exercise. So instead of wanting to fix people, you want to find out what is it that they want and where are they trying to head in their lives. And so you want to take them there like a good coach, transporting a valuable person from where they are to where they want to be. And this is our intention in this networking business.
I love that. So take off your doctor hat and put on your networking hat. How can I just network with people, meet people wherever they are, and help them in their journey? I think that's an important lesson for everyone. So many people
heard it's networking, not net wishing. And some of us are net wishing. We wish that we were at a certain point, but we have to do the work to get there.
Yes. I love that. Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Dr. Pamela. All right, Dr. Kathy, give us that same nuggets. Give us all that information about you as well in your practice. I'm going to get you to unmute really quickly. There you go. Perfect.
Well, hello, LifeWave community. It's great to be here today. I've been in dental practice with my husband for over 25 years. And you know what? We started out early in our career and we were introduced to some natural products, and it had a life-changing experience for us. My husband would get anything that would come across, any bug that flew across our way, he'd get it. We'd go on a trip, he'd get sick for a few days. So when we started taking some vitamins, that's what kind of started our journey. He stopped getting sick. We started delving more and more into what were natural products, things that could maintain our health. And right now we don't take any pharmaceutical medications. He just turned 70 the other day. And we are looking to continue that journey of being healthy. And that was one of the reasons why we looked at LifeWave. Michael Jaco was talking with David Schmidt on one of his podcasts, and my husband was listening to it. He said, Kathy, you need to take a look at this. So I did, and the rest is history. So when I first got the patches, I had no intentions of doing anything but just utilizing the technology. But I did call my sister up and said, hey, you know what? I came across something I think might be kind of interesting. She goes, well, what is it? And I tried to explain to her a little bit on what I thought it was. And she said, well, when you get them, I'm coming over. I want some of them. I have a mother who's 93. We utilized the technology for her as well. So there was just a lot of different family members that I thought could benefit from what I thought the technology could do. Well, as we started to delve more into what the LifeWave community had, we spoke to Connie Lucas and Jen Allen, and we found out that there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. I've been doing network marketing for many, many years. I started out in Amway, okay, and the journey has just continued on, and just really wasn't looking for something. I was content with what I was doing. I had my hobbies and whatnot, but when we came upon some of the results that people were having with this technology, we thought, you know what, we have to share. Okay, we must share. So we have come across so many people just in the last, couple of years that we've been utilizing the technology that have benefit from this. We meet so many young individuals who've had pain issues, and we're thinking, oh my goodness, you are going to spend the rest of your life with pain? That certainly can't happen. So the motivation to share has grown as we see more and more people benefiting from the technology. And like I said, I do introduce it to a lot of my patients in the practice. I find that when they come on in for dentistry, you have to go ahead and get that part taken care of first. But when you start to delve into what their medical issues are, what medications you're taking, then you start to kind of say, maybe I might have a solution for you. Because a lot of my patients, they don't want to be on medication. They'll go to the doctor and they don't have an answer for whatever issues they may have. So LifeWave, patches and the technology have some answers for them. So that is part of my motivation to share, is to see how many people we can help benefit from this technology, to whether it be pain, whether it be, getting off medication, whether it might be just feeling better. But we've got a lot of people that we've yet to expose this to, and we're just going to keep working until we get it all done.
I love that. And we do have 8 billion people on this planet. So I think we're going to be busy for a little while. I think so. I love that, Dr. Kathy. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. So now that you all have a little bit of background information in their practice and why they chose this and what made them decide to utilize this technology and to share it as well, I do want to ask them some questions. Oops, Dr. Dennis, let me get you to unmute. I accidentally clicked at the same time you did. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's just kind of start with the basics, because we have, over 830 people on here right now. There are a lot of people that are listening to LifeWave for the first time tonight. So they want to know, what is this patch made of? What do you recommend that someone wear? How do you recommend they wear it? How long do they wear it for? So whoever wants to jump in, like I said, round robin, you guys do a great job at that. So let's get the basics of what the patch is. What's it made of, and how does it work, and how do you wear it? You can piggyback off each other.
Who wants to go? Well, I'll go ahead and take it. So when people say crystals, these are not like, amethyst crystals or crystals you get in a shop. These are nanocrystals. They're very tiny. They're made from carbohydrates, amino acids, and this is what. Yeah, there you go. And what that does is you've all seen a fun house mirror, right? Where sometimes you stand in front of one and you're tall and skinny like this, and then you move over and the next one you're like this. Well, that's because it's bending light in a different manner. David Schmidt has figured out through his research how he can bend light with these, basically I call them reflectors. The patches are reflecting back a specific wavelength of infrared energy that's coming from your body into the patch as heat. And that's why they only last 12 to 24 hours, because if energy is being reflected back, the rest of it is being absorbed and is causing the breakdown in those amino acids in those patches. So I'd like to address a question in the chat. People want independent scientific proof. Well, a couple things. I said before, most of the studies for all the medications that people will take blindly, just, I write you a prescription and you'll take it. Not too worried about it. Are mostly funded by the manufacturers. So that's just kind of a standard thing. the bottom line is most people are not sophisticated enough to read these studies. So the fact is they have the studies, and that's good enough for the FDA. Now, this is not an FDA approved product, but for the Food and Drug Administration to approve those medicines, they have to have studies for devices. Everybody's got studies. It's just kind of like you're getting your ticket punched. The bottom line is, if you don't feel, if you're not going to know if these work for you unless you put them on. So, yes, the science is important, but, people are looking for studies. Number one, they can't really read. They're not sophisticated enough to understand the statistics on it. And they're really, they're there for validation, but you can read all that and you're not going to believe it until you feel it yourself. And some people feel it, we call them like a one-hit wonder. Within, minutes or 24 hours, they feel it, but most people are going to take longer. And that's just, depends on your, the state, whether you're really, you've got a lot of things that are not working well in your body, or you've got everything that's working well. So most people are in between, and you just got to give it time. And if you're not, because even if we show everybody that, the science and they read everything, if they don't try it and give it some time, they're still not going to believe it. So that's how I answer the studies. Everybody wants to look at the studies. Anything, Kathy or Pam?
The premise on which these patches are made is that your bodies are miracles and are self-healing. Our bodies are meant to heal themselves. And if we get out of the way, sometimes they will. In other words, when Dr. Dennis does some surgery on a foot, he puts stitches or staples in there and he puts the edges together. He doesn't make it heal. It heals on its own, right?
Yep.
You can approximate the two edges, but that doesn't make it heal. And that's the basis on which we're doing this. These patches help our bodies and support our bodies to do exactly what they're already doing. When you are born, you're born with trillions of stem cells. These stem cells can make more stem cells, or they can make any other cell in your body. Any cell, any organ, any tissue, any system comes from stem cells. And there is a peptide, it's a 3 amino acid, like the little elements that make up proteins, called GHK, and it is attached to a copper molecule. And when it attaches to the copper molecule, it helps to create stemness or make stem cells activate. This GHK copper peptide is what our patches upregulate or cause to be produced. And the thing about it is that same crystal lattice that is inside the patch is like a reflective mirror. When you get out of bed in the morning, the bed is warm. Why is that? Because your body is exuding heat, and that heat is a frequency of light. And that light is infrared light. You can't see it unless you have the night vision goggles or something. And this infrared light hits the patch and goes back into the skin. The skin absorbs it and sends a signal to your brain, and it sends out the GHK-CUs. It's kind of like the first responders, in an accident, you want those paramedics to be on the scene. You want them to get there. But sometimes you have a lot of inflammation and the stem cells can't make it to the scene, and it takes a long time. So you might want to have your bent finger heal, but it's working on your heart or your lungs or trying to get past some other inflammation that's there. And I'll just leave it at that for now in the interest of time.
That's perfect. I love that. Thank you. Dr. Kathy, do you have anything to add on time?
When we talk about the patches and when people wear the patches, a lot of people ask, where do we put them? Well, clinical studies were done behind the neck and below the belly button, but you can really place X39 anywhere. So if you have a little area that maybe it hurts more, you can put the patch right in that area. We talk about a 12-hour wear. So we wear the patch for 12 hours and then we take it off and give the body a rest. Now, why do we do that? We do that because if we keep the patch on for a longer period of time, the body will react in such a way that's called attenuation. And what it means is that the body starts to ignore the signal that the patch is delivering, and then you're not really going to get the results that you're looking for. It's kind of like something, if someone were to go ahead and tap on your hand like this 24/7, after a while, your brain will start to ignore that. So it's the same thing with the patch technology. If you wear it too long, you're going to start to ignore that signal and you won't get the benefit from it.
I love that. That is so true. Attenuation is a very real thing. So let's
You
talk.
also need to hydrate yourself really
Yes.
well, because the signal works through the energy flow of the body, and energy flows in the liquids.
Yes,
We'll
definitely.
probably talk more about that.
Oh yeah, that was definitely one of my questions. Water, why is it important? What do we need to do, not do? Yeah, that's critical to our success with our patches for sure. So let's talk a little bit about being medical doctors. You have to be concerned about contraindications when you're prescribing medications with your patient, what they're eating, what supplements they're on. All of that needs to be explained, right, to the patient before you can prescribe med. Well, this is not a medication. This is not a supplement, right? This is a wearable light technology. So let's talk a little bit about contraindications, but I also, that's easy answer, but let's also expand on that and tell me a little bit how light works in the body versus a supplement or a food or a prescription. Is it working faster? Does it communicate better? Is there a dosing? Let's expand on that a little bit for them with something you ingest versus this wearable light technology.
So the good thing about this is it's absorbed, it's directly into your, through your, now when I say absorbed, the energy is, there's nothing coming from the crystals, there's no stem cells entering your body, nothing like that. So it's all energy driven. So it's a direct connection with your, with the bioelectricity of your body. You don't have to worry about absorption, because a lot of people, as they get older, they have more inflammation problems that impact the absorption of nutrients. So, and then you get to supplements and you don't know what's in it. You don't know. I've seen studies where they've gone out and taken random samples, and melatonin, they had 10% to 300% in the samples of what was on the label. So that's where this is really elegant. And in fact, it was Albert Einstein said that the future medicine is frequency medicine. So I think he's pretty well credentialed to tell us about energy, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, and there really are no contraindications. Some people will ask about if you're undergoing some type of anti-neoplasm, or if you have a growth, you have a tumor and you're being treated for that. Some people may feel that you don't want to increase your immune response, but I don't think there's been any problems. Obviously, they can't do any studies. We can't recommend things, but if you think about it logically, the body's not going to do something that's going to cause itself a problem. It's smart. It knows what to do. Like the stem cells that the system activates, they know where to go and what to do. And in fact, I just started doing some research or looking into a company that is using bioelectric signals to direct stem cells in the body. And we can't, so that it's, like I said, the stem cells are smart bombs. They know where to go and what to do. This company is figuring out how to do that, but it's a lot more expensive and limited areas and things like that. We just let the body do its thing. And the big thing is we can measure blood pressure, blood sugar, weight. But the other thing is you look at the before and after pictures and the collagen production, which is what I was interested in for wounds. Like Pam said, I'd put the skin back together. Most of the time I couldn't. So I had to rely on the body to fill it in with, with granulation tissue. And that takes a lot of energy from the body. And I would look at the wound and figure out, hey, the body, it's doing well. Let's keep doing what we're doing. I would just guide the body. The body is smarter than I am. And I would just use simple, principles and let the body, take care of. So there's no real contraindications. And I would say if you're in a difficult, healing situation where they might want to decrease your inflammatory or your immune response, I would, if it was me, and I'm not recommending for anybody, but just common sense, I would want the body to be doing whatever it can to help, because we learned during the pandemic that your immune system, you can't just push, if you just suppress the immune system, with a medication or something like that, it takes out the good. You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And all the medications that you see advertised today are MAB, they stand for monoclonal antibody, or they're inhibiting your immune system and they push it down, and then you see all the side effects, infections and things like that. And that's how I actually started looking for other things, was because one of my children has an inflammatory arthritis. And when she would use her immune suppressive therapies that the doctor gave her, she had potential for getting bad infections. And this is so much more, your immune system is like a symphony. It's an orchestration that's going on that we, the doctors, do not understand. So I would feel comfortable telling, or I would, in my situation, if I had where they were trying to suppress my immune system, I would feel totally safe using it for me, and I would recommend that for my family, because it's not, it just makes sense to me.
Yes, to get back to the water, Dr. Stacy, you mentioned that we really need to drink enough water. We need to hydrate ourselves really well so that we can keep the flow of energy moving in our bodies. And we need to add some minerals to that too. This recommended that we take copper, because naturally we have copper peptide, and the copper is, David always recommends copper glycinate, 2.5 to 5 milligrams. And magnesium is another one that's necessary, potassium. We get plenty of sodium in lots of things that we eat, So we need calcium, magnesium. We need to have those supplementations with our liquids. And the formula for the water is half of your body weight in ounces of water per day. Actually is half of your ideal body weight, because if you are obese, you really don't want to drown yourself in the water. So that's the amount that is recommended, and you need to get a little bit of exercise to keep the lymph moving and to keep get the toxins out of your body, because we have so many toxins that are in our environment that we need to get that out.
So we always tell people that the patches are non-transdermal, which means that nothing enters the body. So the whole idea of the patches, like everyone is saying, is to bring that body back to balance. If we bring the body back to balance, then good things start to happen. So blood pressure starts to normalize, other good things. So people are on medications, they're always concerned about, is it going to interfere with my medication? And we say, well, no, because it's a non-transdermal patch. But we always tell people, you want to work with your physician if you want to come off medication, because you want someone to help you with that. But there have been many, many people that I've talked to that have been able to lower their medication. A good example is my mom. She's always had blood pressure issues. And since she's been on the patch technology, she's come off of 2 blood pressure medications, and they've cut one in half. And this is for someone who's 93. So something is happening. We're getting a little more balance in there. So that's when good things start to happen, when you bring that body back to balance.
I love that. So let's go to the other end of the spectrum. That's fantastic for your mom, but let's go back to childhood. You mentioned, Dr. Pamela, there's a lot of toxins out there today, toxins that we, when we were children, did not have to deal with. And so we didn't have the childhood that the kids today have. The environment, the food that is not food, the water, right? Everything is so riddled with toxicity. So people ask me all the time, are these patches safe for children? The first 2 people I patched were my children. That was my personal choice. I found this technology and I couldn't get home fast enough to put this patch on my daughter, Taylor. That was my main focus. She had been in a wheelchair for 15 years, required full care, nonverbal, like we had been through every kind of therapy under the sun, including many types of stem cell therapies in and out of the country, injections, hyperbarics. We did 15 years at that being the base, and everything else holistic around it. So I couldn't get home fast enough to put this on the back of her neck. I didn't care what it cost. I knew it wasn't going to cost $25,000 for one patch. I paid that for one injection. So I knew it wasn't going to cost that. It was literally a cup of coffee. But people ask me all the time, is this safe for kids? Now, we know we don't have any studies on children, right? No pregnant or nursing mothers, But as you mentioned for yourself, for your child, Dr. Dennis, and I would love to know each of your thoughts on that, because you are working with people. Just like you said, your whole focus is to help other people, share this with other people. How do you answer that question, besides it's your personal choice?
We have a pediatrician in our group, Dr. Annabelle, and she's got a young daughter, and she uses it on kids. And she basically, the recommendation is that the child should be able to tell you how they feel. In other words, I don't know how your daughter is relating to the patches. You might be able to tell us a little more in some after a while, but when the kid can tell you, how they feel with the patch, without the patch, or, with the patch again, then that's the only proviso that we recommend. Otherwise, I would use it on the kids, and we use it on our pets. We use it on our tiny dogs and cats and horses, and some people are using it on their plants. I mean, these things are non-toxic, y'all. Not so much like many medications out there, So it's basically a very brilliant technology, which is God-given, because David says he prayed and this is what came down to him. And so I think that this is something that is way ahead of many, many aspects of medicine. I know there are pharmaceutical companies that would do anything to be able to get hold of this technology, but because of our patents, nobody can do a Me Too product like this, and there won't be anything else out there that is like that. So we can keep our advantage going and share it with the billion people that he wants to do.
Absolutely.
Way safer than medications for the kids. I mean, there's no comparison. It's like there's side effects. I didn't realize your story, Stacy, but you know better than anybody with all the things that you tried, and the medications are, way more disconcerting than the patches.
Yeah.
Simple.
I agree with that. Dr. Kathy, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, like Dr. Pam said, kids can use them, but you want to make sure that they're verbal, that they can go ahead and tell you what's going on. And then obviously people use them for their animals. We use them for our little Chihuahua all the time. We had a little Chihuahua that almost didn't make it, and we put the patches on him, and he's still here with us. So it can work. It can definitely work.
Yeah. Yep.
There's Stacy, I just saw something here, back to the question of transplant or immune suppressive therapy to decrease rejection. Somebody put in here, her example was that her mother had had an organ transplant last December, passed for 3 to 4 months with X39, almost spoke Spanish, with X39, Eon, and IceWave. And the doctor was able to decrease one of her medications. And I hear these stories all the time. People are saying, oh, my doctor had to lower, like Dr. Kathy was saying, you got to watch, your blood pressure is going down, your sugar and things like that. And what do they always say? I've never seen this before. Right? They say, oh, I've never seen this before. We don't understand. And some things can happen spontaneously, but not with not with this regularity. That's why, even though you may not have a dramatic story yourself, it's like compounding interest. You're creating 500 million cells every day. I would rather, if I'm going to make cells, I want to make good ones. So even though I don't feel anything dramatic, like mental clarity or mood or anything, they can't work for everybody else and not for me. And I've seen it work for so many people. I've heard these remarkable stories that I just you can't deny it. You can deny it, but that to your own detriment.
And that's why allopathic doctors have a hard time dealing with this technology, because they are brought up on the pharmaceutical model, and it's a this for that. Every symptom. I literally had a patient come to me with 26 different medications. I'm in primary care.
That's nothing.
I'm the gatekeeper. I'm the first person they come to when they have a problem, but then they go off to their specialist and they come back with 26 different medications that she was taking. There were like 3 of each category. She didn't realize that she was taking the same thing in 3 different iterations, and all the side effects she was having. So when you go to your own doctor and the doctor says, oh, pooey, that can't work because you have to give a medication, you may have to teach them something. You may have to be kind to them and ask them if they can support you in this new venture that you're doing. Ask them just to monitor you and
Yeah.
see how you're doing, because likelihood is you're going to get better and they're not going to understand why.
And that is what they should want for you. They should want
Oh,
off of
yeah.
the medicines, out of their office, and living your best life.
Amen.
So,
If they're into wellness, but a lot
absolutely.
of them are into sickness, the sickness model.
well, I think the doctors are doing the, what they believe is the best, but they just don't, they're not open. I was open because, like I said, I was looking for something that wouldn't cause the, or increase the risk of infection in my daughter. And I knew some other natural pharmaceuticals had some good success with that, and I thought, well, why not try it? But back to your allopathic, the medical doctors, if you have high blood pressure, they're not trying to address the issue. What they're trying to do is trick your body. So they'll give you a medicine to make your heart beat less forcefully, which decreases the pressure coming out of your heart. Well, that's not the problem. Or they'll give you a diuretic water pill so you pee more. Well, that's not the problem either. Or they'll give you a medicine that will vasodilate, will open relax your arteries. But that's not the problem either. So they're giving these workarounds and that's why that's why they have side effects. They're not addressing the root cause. So, and you've seen that, you've fought against that your whole 50 years. So there's no comparison. And people are posting here, their blood sugar, their hemoglobin A1C went from 8.5, which is their average blood sugar for the last 3 or 4 months, down to 5.8. I mean, I'm pretty simple, if I don't know how the computer works. To me, it's magic. And when it doesn't work, I get real frustrated because it was just working. I said, I don't care how this works. If it's magic and it works, I'm about the results. And in fact, I'm a paid speaker for a wound healing device that uses oxygen. And I started using that when nobody else would, because I was desperate with my patient population, and it was inexpensive. It was very convenient, and I saved millions of dollars because it was effective and it worked. I didn't have them going back to the operating room. And I just said, well, let's try it. And within 2 days, I could see it was working. That's all I care about. I said, I don't care if it's magic. Now they have good studies. And I know that's kind of simplistic, but I just need to get the wounds I need people to get better. I don't have the luxury of putting them on another medicine. So I'm going to cut things off, or they're going to, be incapacitated. So that's the way I think.
Thank you.
Another thing I find too is there's so many people that will go to a physician and they can't get the answers. They don't know why they have this. So a lot of times what happens is they're put on a medication because let's try this, but it really doesn't address the issues that they have. The lifestyles that we lead the day, the diet that we have, the toxins that we're exposed to. We have a lot of people, I think, that have problems that are not necessarily part of the medical community anymore. We just don't know why it's occurring. So when people don't have those answers, they get very frustrated. So the technology that we have to share has helped a lot of those people with those that are not getting the answers. So that's what I really love about it. Okay, we don't have to worry about being put on a medication just because someone's having an issue. So I find a lot of that, and I'm able to go ahead and suggest some things, utilize the patch technology to help people who haven't been able to get their answers.
Perfect.
I have a question for Dr. Kathy. You know how important the mouth is, and oral hygiene is not just like for bad breath or cavities, but for inflammation. And I was just watching some things on heart disease, and everything's about inflammation, whether it's amyloid plaques in the brain, neurodegenerative diseases, it's heart disease. Have you seen, because I don't look in people's mouths, so have you seen people who have started using the patch for one reason or another come back and they have less gum disease, or you've seen improvement in their bone stock? Because I've heard about that on x-rays, that you can see the bone stock.
Yes, I have. And we always have to keep in mind that the mouth is a mirror to the rest of the body. So when people have issues, with systemic issues, we may see it manifest themselves in the mouth, whether it be, increased decay, whether it be, gum issues, inflammation. But like we said, when we go ahead and feed the body good things, then good things start to happen and we see less problems.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
So the mouth is the window to the soul, not the eyes.
Yep, it's all connected. It's all connected. That's for sure. So we've got about 13 minutes left. And so what I'm going to do is I've got some questions about specific types of issues, like what patches would you recommend for this? So I'm just going to read off a sentence. What patches would you recommend for this? Whoever wants to answer that one, and then I'll read another one. Somebody can grab that one. Does that work okay?
That's good. I think you're going to be better at that than we are, actually, with all your. But we'll help. I'll do what I can. But
You guys are amazing. You're amazing.
I'm gonna defer to you on some of those.
Okay, so what patches would you use to help people that have that monkey brain, right? They just can't shut their mind off and they're just go, go, go all the time.
I would start with X39 and I would add Eon. There is a patch that we have used, which we are dying to find out the status of, called Nirvana, which I love, but I don't know where the doctor says. You may have some information on that as to when that might be.
I can share with you just what I know a little bit. And that is they are in the process still of wanting that patch to come back. As you know, it used to be a patch supplement combo. The studies that were done were with that. And then, of course, we want just the patch only back. The supplement wasn't the big seller. And so we are hopeful that it will be still this year. Okay. David really wanted studies on just the patch. That patch claimed to increase beta endorphins with the actual, supplement. And of course, massive improvements in pain reduction as well, too, when you combine them. So he wanted to see what happened with it on its own. In the meantime, what happened, of course, it would have been back sooner had it not been for the powders that are going to be released, to be able to help our community in that need for that in the body. So that kind of put things a little bit on delay. And there is something really big being announced at convention that's like really, 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 really crazy amazing. And so that's taken just a little bit of priority as well too. But we really are hopeful that patch will come back later this year.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I did see something flash across the chat about someone who is utilizing a medication for acne.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband has cystic acne. So he's been patching for about 18 months. Okay. And we're seeing some great improvement in skin. What we've been using is X39 and 49 and Alavita and Eon. So those were the basic patches that we were using. Now, I might even go ahead and suggest that someone try to use the glutathione to do some detoxing. Okay. But if they continue with that patch technology, I think they will see a good result with that acne issue.
That's perfect. One of my questions is, what do you like for beautiful skin? So thank you. You jumped right into that one. That's amazing. Thank you, Dr. Kathy. Okay. What about patches for detox and immune support?
Again, we can use X39, always start off with that one, because before we had X39, we had individual patches that did individual things. Now that we have that one, that is the daddy. That's the one that does them all. And it increases glutathione maybe by 30%, but the glutathione patch increases it 300%. So we can add on to it. So glutathione is very good as a detoxifier and basically it has these even antihistaminic effects, and then SP6 is one that helps all the organs function better. And so when there's an effect on the organs and you have that problem manifesting in some dis-ease, that's one of the patches that I like. Perfect.
So before we came on here tonight, I think you and Dr. Dennis were comparing bicep sizes, right? So it's your biceps. Tell us what you got here on sports performance. Dr. Dennis, you said you've gained 15 pounds of lean muscle mass. And how does that happen at your age? Tell me the patches.
So the X39 was the one patch to rule them all. That's the way I phrase it, because it helps the body balance everything through the increase in GHK copper, which switches on anti-aging genes. Prior to that, the technology was more specific for for pain or for inflammation, cravings, hormonal balance, things like that. So the X39 should take care of everything. Well, a couple of years ago, and people are having great results with that. A couple of years ago, X49 came out and it upregulates it increases the level of a different tripeptide called AHK copper. And it's just a different amino acid, but that's more specific for bone, brain, and muscle, including heart muscle. So I tried that. I wanted to limit the variables, so I stopped the X39 and used the X49 for a month or two, and I didn't notice any difference. I don't respond much to the technology. I don't have any like dramatic results, but like I said, it's compounding interest in it. So I'm just getting younger all the time. I did a body scan, said I'm 61, it said I'm 49. And the people who run the body scan said, I've never seen anybody get a 10 out of 10 in person, never met anybody except for Richard Branson, who, I'm sure spends a lot of money on his health. He's the director of Virgin Enterprises. But let's see. So I did I added the X49 because I had another consideration. I said, I'm going to add this because it's supposed to be synergistic, but I didn't do it for that reason. But I checked my weight back at the gym just to see what was going on. And I had gained 7 pounds. And I thought, how does that happen? And it's checking my body composition, and it's still below 10%. So, and people were starting to notice that people would say, hey, what are you doing? Your arms are bigger, because I've always been lean and in shape, but now they see I'm getting bigger. And now I started at like 185, and then I went up and I'm at 200 pounds, and I've never been over 190. And people see it's not fat. That cannot happen. And that's really important. I'm a foot doctor. I take care of broken feet and ankles and legs when people fall. The reason they fall because they have poor bone stock and weak muscles. So muscle mass or sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass as we increase, is a huge risk for increased mortality. I mean, you fall, you break things. You break your hip, you break your face, you break your wrist or whatever. And if you're using this therapy, it's like an insurance policy. Your daily life is better, but you're going to heal so much better. Robin Mascari was talking about that. And I know there's no way she would have healed as rapidly as she did if she hadn't been using it for an extended period of time. So the sooner you start this, the better. Don't wait till, your engine's out of oil or, there's a big problem, maintain it. The older the machine, the more maintenance we have to do. But this does the maintenance for you if you just feed it good food and do some exercise and movement. So, but that shows the synergistic effect. That was not my goal. I didn't change anything I was doing. I just got bigger with muscles.
39 and 49, correct?
Yep, that's so yeah. So the X39 will help you, keep you alive.
Mm-hmm.
And the performance bundle X39, X49 will allow you to thrive. And that's what I want to do. I'm going to keep, people are out here, like Pan's 80 years old, and she was running around on the pickleball court. And I know that, I play pickleball with 80-year-olds, but most of them aren't, that energetic and moving around the way she was. And she's been on the patches for probably four years at least. So it's well worth the investment.
Mm-hmm.
In your health.
Perfect. How about pain relief?
X39 for sure. X39 can go ahead and give some reduction in pain. It does a lot of other things too. And if someone has a specific area of pain, targeted pain, ice wave patches are also can be used.
Mm-hmm.
Eon is another patch that can help. So since you can't patch necessarily with one particular patch for 24 hours, we say X39 by day, maybe Eon by night. Use your ice wave as needed. Okay.
I love that. Perfect.
Yeah.
What about weight management? I mean, you obviously mentioned building lean muscle mass with X39, 49. What if someone's got a few too many pounds on and they want to decrease those?
can take care of your cravings, you can use SP6, and
Right.
that'll help you. That'll help make the different organs perform better, including the pancreas. And so, you know, it's a matter of insulin and ghrelin and leptin. These are some of the hormones inside our bodies that have to be in balance, as Dr. Dennis said. We want to maintain a balance. You want to do some extra exercise because it's not just calories in and calories out, but it's the state of your metabolism. If you're just sitting on the couch like a couch potato, the body thinks that, you know, I'm getting ready to get off of this planet or something. But if you are actively running around chasing things that say, oh my goodness, we'll have to keep you around for a while. And so you can keep moving, you drink your water, and you take these energy enhancer also is one of the ones that helps you burn fat. And so you can use that one to get your body in shape, not just lose weight.
Perfect. So we have 3 minutes left. I would love for you each in just a minute to share your final words of inspiration to everybody, or your suggestions, whatever you'd like to share, each of you individually, to all of our audience, tens of thousands of people that are watching.
So we've
Well,
talked a lot
go
about
ahead.
patches, about the different patches, but if someone had to pick only one patch, it would be X39 because it can do so much. So we want to keep that in mind. We've got a lot of support patches. It will help you get there faster. Okay, but X39 is the one that you want to be utilizing. And keep in mind, we have a 100% guarantee that it will not work if you do not wear it. And you should be very consistent, because people who wear it one day and they take it off and they want to know why they don't get a result. You must, the most important things, consistency, 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 and stay hydrated.
I love that. Thank you, Dr. Kathy.
Well,
Dr.
people
Pamela?
don't care how much you know, they want to know how much you care. We want to care for people, and we want to share this technology with them, as many people as come across our ambit. So keep a positive attitude, check out your neighbor, find out how they're doing, share the patches with them, and the more people you help, the more help you will get in the long run.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Dennis?
So about losing weight, you got to lift weight to lose weight, because, well, actually, most people are not overweight, they're over fat. And you need muscle weighs more than fat. So you're going to be able to, if you can reduce your pain, reduce your inflammation, increase your energy, you're going to feel more like working out. And then you will be able to, do the weight training. Weight training is way more important. Resistance training is way more important than trying to burn off calories by running or walking. So this will, like I said, this will allow you to do that. Otherwise, people just, they just start in a downward spiral, and they, oh, I hurt, I can't do this, I don't have energy, I worked out, oh, now I'm worse off now, and I'm not going to do this, I'm just going to start to die, or just, just keep going. So don't worry about your weight, worry about how your clothes fit. If your clothes are starting to get less, you're changing your body composition, and that's a much better indication. So that's the last thing I would say about losing fat. And like you said, burning, you become more metabolically healthy,
Perfect.
and like in a younger state.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
Increase
Well,
your
thank
stem
you.
cells.
Thank you all three of you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be on here this evening. I really appreciate you. I know just from my phone's blowing up, I'm not looking at it, but I know just from the comments in the chat that I've seen scrolling through that everyone is just so grateful that you took the time to come and share your expertise, your opinions, your practical experiences, and what you've experienced. And we really just are so grateful to have you in our LifeWave community. And I look forward to seeing all of you, hopefully very soon, at one of our conventions coming up. So thank you for being here from the bottom of my heart.
Bye.
Well, and
everyone.
thank you for the
Thank you.
for giving us this opportunity and this, like I say, this sacred responsibility, because you don't need to be a doctor to do this. In fact, the biggest people, except for Dr. Stacy, they're just people who like sharing, caring, and they follow the system. And that's what Dr. Pam was alluding to. You don't need to know everything about every patch. There are teams that are growing big and they just keep it simple.
Yep.
We tend to overcomplicate things,
Yes,
Me-
keep it
meaning
simple,
myself.
silly.
Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But
Well, thank
thanks,
you.
Stacy.
Thank
I
you.
really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're
Great,
welcome.
great program.
Good night.